Did you know that it takes between 7 and 14 years for people with OCD to get the correct diagnosis? How is this even possible in this day and age? Now, it makes us wonder what is going on in that 7 to 14 years. Now, what we understand is people are either getting misdiagnosed, number one. Number two, they're getting the incorrect treatment. And number three, they're then developing additional conditions like depression, substance use conditions, and so much more. Now, the other thing to consider is that there is one other huge contributor to why people are not getting diagnosed early enough. And that is that people do not know the difference between visible compulsions and mental compulsions. So today in this video, I am going to break down the key differences between mental compulsions and visible routines and rituals. And I'm going to teach you the science-based solution for both. Hello, my name is Kimberly Quinlan. I'm an OCD specialist, and I am on a mission to help equip over 1 million people on science-based, evidence-based tools that you can use for your anxiety. This is the work I'm put on this planet to do, and I'm so excited that you're here. So let's talk about compulsions. There are two main categories of compulsions. Number one are visible rituals or compulsions, and number two is invisible rituals or compulsions. We use the word rituals and compulsions interchangeably. The first one, if we were to look at visible rituals, are physical behaviors. Now, you've seen these on Hollywood movies, the crack jumping, the hand washing, the lining symmetrical objects together. These are what we understand as normal, typical types of OCD. And this is often why people get misdiagnosed, because they don't see these physical behaviors, so they assume they don't have OCD. Now, there is another form of visual ritual, which is reassurance seeking. This is where the person with OCD goes to somebody else and asks them for repetitive reassurance. Sounds like, are you sure nothing bad will happen? Are you sure I'm a good person? Are you sure I didn't do A, B, and C? We can also do reassurance seeking by Google searching. A lot of people get stuck in the rabbit hole of Google searching or even on ChatGPT and using AI to try and get reassurance or to reduce or remove their uncertainty. And the third is confessing, going to a family member and confessing repetitively over and over the thoughts that they've had or things that they've done, trying to relieve, again, that uncertainty. That's the visible rituals. Now let's talk about invisible rituals. The first one is mental compulsions. This is anything we do from the neck up where we're trying to solve or reduce that uncertainty. There are many, many different types of mental compulsions, which I will go through here with you. And it's important for you to understand those, again, so that we can get people diagnosed and treated earlier. The second invisible ritual is avoidance. Often you can't notice that somebody's got OCD because they're avoiding that whole thing altogether. They aren't going to the supermarket, or they aren't going to the bus stop, or seeing a friend, or going to the movie theaters. The third is self-criticism. Often people with OCD are ruminating and saying a lot of very unkind things to themselves. No one would have any idea. In fact, the person may actually be smiling and masking. No one would know that this is all going on in their head. It's very, very painful. It's very, very unsettling. And a lot of people with OCD have had to learn how to mask these invisible rituals and compulsions because they're trying to keep it a secret. They're trying to just stay functioning and get on with life as best as they can. But slowly but surely, they're sinking and sinking because it's just so painful. Now, let's talk about the types of mental compulsions. One thing to notice here is that I've put this into 8 different categories, but technically, there could be hundreds of different categories, but I've done my best to condense it so that for you can just go through in the checkbook and go, okay, which one of these am I struggling with? Okay, so let's get started. Number one is mental checking or reassurance. This is where you're mentally checking, you're looking at the stove. Did I check that stove? Did I do that thing? Did I say the right thing? You're mentally checking and you're trying to get reassurance that you didn't do something bad. The next one is mental solving. thinking, and this is on rumination. So instead of it being something from the past, now you're trying to solve something in the future. Could I do something wrong? Could I hurt someone in the future? Could I do the wrong thing, or could bad things happen? You're often ruminating about all of the potential catastrophes that could happen in the future. The third is counting and repeating. Often people with OCD will say they do a lot of compulsive counting or repeating, saying words over and over until it feels right. This is a very common form of mental compulsions. They don't know to tie it to OCD. And so again, we want to sort of address it here as well. The fourth is neutralization. This is where you have an intrusive thought, an obsession that is unwanted and distressing, and in effort to make it go away, you neutralize it by putting a positive thought or a positive action onto that negative thought or negative action. So let's say if you had a thought about something bad happening to your grandmother, you might neutralize it by thinking about something positive that happened to your grandmother, or thinking about the birth of a niece or a nephew. There's just one example. Number 5 is comparing. This is where you spend time in your head comparing scenarios or comparing yourself. They said that and I said this. Does that mean that they're a good person and I'm a bad person? I thought this and they don't think that. What does that mean? We're comparing and we're trying to solve a problem or an anxiety or a fear. Often with comparing, we're often trying to get certainty on something. The next one is mental rehearsal. This is where you spend a lot of time in your head rehearsing how you would cope or how you would handle certain situations, and you try to go through every worst case scenario so that you can feel prepared. The problem with that is, as you know, the more you spend thinking about the worst case scenario, the more anxious you get, the harder it is to regulate, the more you need to do more compulsions, and you're stuck in a terrible cycle. Then we move over to memory hoarding. This is where you're taking sort of like a mental Polaroid snapshot of some event so that you can remember it for later. This is often what people do if they're trying to be sure that they did turn off a light or a hairdryer or unplug the hairdryer. They're trying to memory hoard or get exact memories so that they don't have uncertainty about it later. And then the last one is compulsive prayer. This is where you pray compulsively. This is not religious prayer. This is not saying that something you're doing it because you enjoy it. You feel compelled that you have to pray to try and undo bad things, or you have to pray to make yourself feel better or make yourself feel like a good person again. Often you're praying to, again, neutralize negative thoughts that you've had. Again, this is different to genuine spiritual aligned prayer. This is often done, again, repetitively. It's very distressing. It's done in a sense of urgency, as if all of these compulsions is very different to prayer that is in line with someone's values. So there you have a kind of bigger picture now of what mental compulsions are, what are the types of mental compulsions. Now I want us to move over to what you can do. Now, the good thing here is that the treatment for visible and invisible compulsions are the same. We use exposure and response prevention, which is a type of cognitive behavioral therapy. It is the gold standard treatment for OCD, and it allows the person with OCD to tolerate the obsession that they're having and work to reduce those compulsive behaviors. Now, as I've mentioned, this is something we could apply to both visible rituals and mental compulsions. We can also use what is called attention control techniques. This is where we can learn to have intrusive thoughts and direct our attention to things that matter to us instead of those mental rituals. It is a harder practice, but with time and patience, we can strengthen that muscle where we can then learn to choose based on our values where we want to put our attention, and then from there stay on that thing no matter how many times our brain brings up new fears, brings up new uncertainties, and tries to get us back into doing those compulsions. Now, we do have a course called the Rumination Reset, which goes deep into me teaching you how to manage rumination and mental compulsions, any of those invisible compulsions and rituals that you're doing. If you're interested in that, you can click on the show notes below, org, head over to cbtschool.com and you'll learn about it there. But I walk you through exactly the same skills I teach my patients and my clients one-on-one so that they can break free from all of this mental jumble that we can get ourselves stuck into and that rabbit hole that we could fall down into. Now, another thing you can do is if you don't have access to treatment for OCD, we have a course called Your OCD Toolkit, which has a beginning to end, start to finish treatment plan. It's the exact sequence I take my clients through that teach them identifying obsessions and compulsions, coming up with an exposure and response prevention plan, all the way through to relapse prevention. There's mindfulness skills, self-compassion skills, there's tons of worksheets, handouts, it's a workbook involved. That's there for you as well. Now, let's review. Now, what we do know is that there are key differences between a mental compulsion and a visible ritual. And getting to know those can be the difference between people getting diagnosed and not. The other thing to remember is there is help. Please do not give up. Even if you are one of those people who haven't been diagnosed, you can still get started now and get your life back. Now, I wanted to thank you so much for being here. It is an honor. I know how valuable your time is. So thank you for spending time here with me and the mission that I have. Have a wonderful day. For any resources, you can head over to cbtschool.com.